March 1994, Johannesburg. A crowd moved, a line was crossed, and in seconds everything changed. But this isn't about the shots you heard. It's about the moment before, when people saw what was coming and did nothing. Stay with this, because what happened outside Shell House didn't end that day, it repeated. And by the time you realize why, it's already too late to say you wouldn't have done the same. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now, because the next story might be the one no one was supposed to tell. Like and share. March 1994, Johannesburg. Before the gunfire, there was a moment. Not a loud one. Not the kind people remember clearly. It did not announce itself. It did not demand attention. It passed the way most dangerous moments do, quietly, almost reasonably. A crowd moved through the city. Not running. Not scattered. Moving with purpose. With presence. With the certainty that comes from being seen. The streets adjusted around them. Traffic shifted. People watched. Some stepped aside. Others stayed where they were, measuring distance without fully understanding what that distance meant. The country itself was already under pressure. Weeks away from its first democratic election, South Africa was not stable in the way official language suggested. Power was changing hands, but not all at once. Not evenly. Not without resistance. There were fractures, and they were visible. Political allegiance was no longer theoretical. It had shape. It had sound. It moved in groups, gathered in numbers, and carried with it a kind of tension that could not be ignored. People did not just belong to ideas anymore. They stood inside them. That morning, one of those ideas moved toward the center of Johannesburg, toward Shell House. The building did not need introduction. It held meaning long before that day. It was more than an address. It was a place where decisions lived, where strategy formed, where a version of the future was being constructed, room by room, meeting by meeting. Inside, people were already waiting. Not casually, not passively, positioned, watching, listening, interpreting movement outside as something that might, at any moment, become something else. Because it had before. The distance between the crowd and the building began to close. Slowly at first. Then more noticeably. Space, which had once been neutral, began to feel conditional. The street outside Shell House stopped being just a street. It became a boundary. Then a question. How close is too close? No one answered it out loud. But people began answering it in other ways. Some moved forward. Some held position. Some watched for a signal that never came clearly enough. And in that space, not yet violent, not yet broken, something settled in. A shared awareness that the situation was no longer ordinary. That whatever happened next would not feel like an accident, even if no one could point to the exact moment it became inevitable. Later, people would try to describe it. They would say the crowd was advancing, or hesitating, that objects were thrown, or that nothing had happened yet. That there were warnings, or that there was only noise. Each version would carry conviction. None would align perfectly, because the moment itself did not exist as a clean sequence. It existed as perception, and perception under pressure does not agree. What does agree across accounts, across sides, across time, is that something shifted. Not visibly enough to stop it, not clearly enough to define it, but enough. Enough for people to feel it. Enough for decisions to begin forming before anyone admitted they were making them. And then, without ceremony, the sound of gunfire entered the space. It did not build. It did not escalate in stages. It interrupted. It replaced whatever had existed before it. The sound carried direction. From inside the building, outward, into the crowd. Everything that followed happened inside seconds. People moved, but not together. Some ran without knowing where they were running. Some dropped before they understood why. Some turned toward the sound, trying to locate it, as if understanding it might make it stop. There was no single place to go that felt safe. The street, moments earlier defined by movement, became defined by exposure. When the gunfire stopped, the space did not reset. It held what had been left behind. Bodies where there had been motion. Silence where there had been noise. Questions where there had been certainty. People began to speak almost immediately, but not in agreement. Accounts formed in fragments, each one shaped by position, by fear, by what had been seen and what had been assumed. Some would say it was necessary. Others would say it went too far. Some would point to the crowd. Others would point to the building. Each version would feel complete to the person telling it. None would close the event, because the event did not end when the shooting stopped. It expanded into headlines, into statements, into investigations, into arguments that would not resolve cleanly because they were never about a single moment. They were about what led to it, what was expected, what was feared, what was seen, and how it was interpreted. The number of those who died would be counted, then questioned, then recounted. The figure most often repeated would settle around 19, though even that would not remain uncontested. Numbers, like memory, did not stay fixed, but the fact of death did. Lives ended in a space that, minutes earlier, had held only movement. And still, the most difficult part to agree on was not what happened after the shooting began. It was what happened before. Because before the gunfire, there was a moment where people saw enough to feel something was wrong, but not enough or not in the same way to stop what came next. In the years that followed, the event would be examined, investigated, positioned inside legal frameworks and political realities that tried to make sense of it without fully containing it. Findings would be made, justifications would be offered, questions would remain. Because even when outcomes are recorded, they do not always resolve what people believe they saw and what they chose to do with it. The Shell House shooting did not disappear into history. It stayed, not only as an event, but as a question that does not sit comfortably. What did people know in that moment? And when they knew it, what did they do? By the time those questions were asked clearly enough, the answers no longer changed anything. And that is where the story settles. Not in the gunfire, but in the moment before it. The moment that felt small enough to ignore. Until it wasn't.